What made you happy when you were little?
Reading,
And does that always make you happy?
most of the time, yes.
All the neighborhood kids would come out and we'd play Ghosts in the Graveyard at night. And it was just so fun. And I loved doing that.
My friends and I, we would ride our bikes probably 5 or 6 miles to a really beautiful beach and hang out all day and play games and hide in the sand dunes and just that whole sense of adventure.
I loved climbing trees. I really liked doing that. I would climb any tree all the way to the very top and then sway back and forth. I loved riding my bicycle and building jumps for it and riding down stairs and cruising around the neighborhood.
I didn't necessarily know it was happiness. I just enjoyed being in nature and playing on my own and building a tree fort and that kind of thing and playing with the dog.
I loved playing football with my stuffed animals. It was my happiest time. I could spend hours lining up. We played American football, but like I had 2 teams and we'd play these very elaborate football games, my stuffed animals and I. And I just, it was the best time.
When I was little, I didn't understand the difference between being, I didn't understand the difference between being sad or being, there was less worry, I'll describe it.
I feel like I could find happiness in so many different things that wasn't seemingly exciting or big or anything. I could find happiness in just laying around or really.
I think I was happy most of the time when I was a kid. And I know from like hearing stories from my mom and dad that I would get really upset when I was upset, but I would get over it super quickly. You know, it would like if someone hurt my feelings at school, I'd come home and say like, I hate school and I don't have any friends. And I would go in my room and cry. But my mom said I would be really dramatic about how upset I was. But then she could count to 10 and she'd hear me singing again. Like I had forgotten about it. I had gotten over it and I'd be playing in my room singing songs again. And she'd be like, oh, well, glad that's over.
Yeah.
I know because I remember getting really upset as a kid, but I think overall I was happy a lot and I returned to happiness very, very quickly without a lot of effort.
And I'll get back to my happy self.
When you were a teenager, what was your idea of happiness?
To win a sports event or to score well on a test or to have when I was young, a pretty girl like me. At least for me and for a lot of people, I think I was kind of insecure and I was kind of worried about what other people thought about me.
As a little kid, I built a tree house myself. And by the time I was a teenager, we still lived in the same house, but the only thing that was left of the tree house were these 3 wooden steps that I nailed into the tree. And I can remember loving to just sit in the tree and not tell anyone where I was going. So I'd climb up those steps, the only thing that was left, and just hang out in the tree. And I loved being there. And all my friends thought I was so weird just hanging out by myself in this tree. But I would hang out there and I would write. And I would just, it was one of those things that was just mine and I loved it.
Being with my friends, I liked later on, I liked when I could drive a car. That I've always thought that was fun. I still do.
Not much. I was not a very happy teenager, but when I did feel happy as a teenager, it was when I was just hanging out with my friends and there was no job to do. There was no we weren't trying to do anything. We weren't trying to get anywhere. We were just hanging out, riding our bikes, maybe playing tennis or basketball or baseball, but mostly just hanging out. There's something about not having to do anything that was just awesome.
The quality of happiness is different. When I was little, the quality of happiness was more rich and more, because you don't even think about, I'm not searching for, I wasn't sort of searching for happiness. And when I was a teenager, I feel like sometimes I'm searching for it because of maybe the peer pressure around you to be perfect. When you're in boarding school, it's quite competitive. You want to have the best clothes. You want to have this. It's the material things that come into play, and the sort of the age group thing and the clique you're hanging around with and all those things. So then I'll describe it as vanity sort of comes into play. The material things, the objects, the new gadgets, the new watches, the new phones, and everything else makes the quality of your happiness. I mean, I want to say I'm not unhappy. I'll just say I wasn't as happy as I was when I was younger.
I really enjoyed hanging out with my friends because I had a lot of nervous thinking about my relationship with my dad. Like I would feel like I couldn't be myself around him, which I now know, now that I'm older, was a lot of what I was doing in my own head. It wasn't necessarily true, but because I had a lot of feeling that I couldn't just be relaxed and be myself around my dad, I enjoyed being around my friends because I felt like I could totally relax and be myself. So I had a lot of fun with my friends as a teenager. But I also I really enjoyed school. I was very curious. I liked reading books and learning things about history and poetry and literature and science. And so I did enjoy school, but I would say my teen years, when I think back to my most fun memories, it's hanging out with my friends.
I look at my teenager years and I look at a kid who was just trying so hard to be something. And it was only when I was, like what Mara said, either with myself or my friends or family, I can just be myself without trying to do anything else. That's when I was truly happy. But I would say there was a lot of times where I thought I needed to do a bunch of other stuff in order to feel okay.